we are always seeking connection.
We started as kids. We'd clean the shack, and then back then there were the flat back costumes. They would give you a pod back there. You could paste the back of the costumes, which wasn't really significant. And you got good enough, they would probably give you a place on the front to paste. And once they show that you can handle that, then you might be able to carry a small costume and become a part of the group and be on the road. But it was a process.
Well, I've always been in the Junkanoo from a very young age, I would say from 6 or 7 years old. And I first got my opportunity when I was about 11.
My first memory of Junkanoo is being asleep in the bed between two aunts, and you hear the swish of paper as somebody is walking in the street in fringed pants, and you hear the clanging of a cowbell that's hanging from somebody's waist as they walk. And so I am excited. This is the magic of the night. This is happening in the middle of the night, and I am begging them to take me where the action is. And so at the age of 4 years, I asked if I could rush. And because my uncle was on the committee at the time, they thought it was cute. In those days, the early 50s, it was not something that people who considered themselves to have any kind of social standing did, and particularly if you were a female. But I was 4, my uncle was out there, they thought it was cute, and they let me go, and so they created a monster. I've been out there ever since.
Celebration within the Black community is a way of connecting to our past, a way of connecting to our ancestors. No matter who we is or where we landed.
Our costumes represented Junkanoo. And Junkanoo, now based on the information we're getting, based on the research that Angelique and Chris and Pateman and those guys did in Ghana, that's where it came from. So our costume paid homage to Jan Kwaw, the mythical Junkanoo, because this is what it really is. You know, for so long we've been told other stories about what Junkanoo was, and now we're getting the truth. And you know, you have to pay homage to where it started and who should be rightfully credited with the celebration.
Our style of dress is an expression of who we is in the present moment, but even that is traced back to our past.
Despite the Christian dogma, despite the anti-African sentiment, despite the whitewashing of history in the Bahamas, we still have the most African commemoration in the Western Hemisphere, and we've been doing it for 3 centuries, right? So it's quite ironic almost, right? And it's something that is against enslavement, against colonization. And what he really represents, regardless of the moral argument of his role as a general in Africa during this time period, what he represents is freedom and resistance to colonization and a sense of African autonomy.
So important for us to realize what we're doing in the present right now so that we can realize our connection to the past and can ensure that we are constructing everything needed for the future. We know as people the bad times are always around the corner, but so are the good times. We've grown up in these celebrations, connections to the African diaspora to Carnival in the New World, but are we really paying attention to those who are speaking to us? Are we noticing the connections between Trinidad and Turks and Caicos, or the Mardi Gras Indians in New Orleans and Junkanoo in the Bahamas? These are our rituals of rebellion, our ritual of connection, our ritual of self-identification. Who in the morning? A street festival of West African origin held during Christmas, Junkanoo is a ritual of rebellion,
The leg.
encompassing the ideals of family, culture, and self-expression. Angelique McKay, the leader of the Junkanoo Commandos, also known as Queen Mother, strives to teach the world the extremely important significance of what Junkanoo truly is and how it connects us.
Angelique McKay is the founder of Junkanoo Commandos. I've worked with Angelique for, a little while. And very recently, Angelique, she is a goddess of Junkanoo, but she was very recently installed, I don't know what the right term is, as a queen mother in Ghana, because she went to the place where Junkanoo and the term Junkanoo originated. Remember, you guys, I was telling you about that on the parade, and this is Angelique was actually on the trip when that connection was recognized, and she was installed as a queen mother. So Angelique and the Junkanoo Commandos are going to be giving you this workshop today. All right, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Only me one here. The person who's going to be showing you how to create a Junkanoo costume is running a little bit late. I don't know if you realize that Bahamian time is different from regular Eastern Standard Time, so he's running a little bit late. His name, we call him Bob the Builder. In Junkanoo, everybody that participates in Junkanoo has a Junkanoo shack name. Now, I'm happy to know that y'all were at Junkanoo, right? New Year's. Did y'all see me?
No.
Well,
It depends. I don't know.
we were the first group out.
No.
Okay, all right, okay. Okay, then y'all miss me then. But I brought some costumes with different styles so you could get an up-close look at Junkanoo. And when he comes, he's going to show you it's time. Time is the most precious commodity in the creation of Junkanoo costumes. If you think you spend time at rehearsal.
This is on the second, you know? You take the cardboard, form the cardboard. You prepare the cardboard for all these different designs. Form now the cardboard and styrofoam and present it as live costumes. And people wears these costumes at parade through the streets in a good form to make sure who has the best presentation wins the parade. So we're going out this Boxing Day hopefully to win a parade.
Well, that's the thing. So after Boxing Day and y'all got New Year's, y'all gonna do a whole new, brand new, start over from scratch.
But see, the key to this now is that we have slot-ons.
Right.
So we take certain things off, replace them with certain things, but have basically the same.
I got you.
So the framing doesn't have to be rebuilt.
It's just the stuff that you put on.
Yeah, slot-on. So,
The Bahamas was a British colony right up until July 9th, 1973. In the British tradition, there is no separation between church and state the way it is in the United States. And so in the British tradition, Christmas was the big season in the church, the big time of year. And because of that, the colony, including enslaved Africans, were granted 3 days holiday at Christmas time. And that is when the Africans, in a society that defined them as animals, decided to use those 3 days, among other times of the year, but the 3 days at Christmas, to reaffirm the fact that they were members of the human family by recreating their festivals from home. Animals don't have festivals. And so they stole away under cover of night to reclaim their heritage.
Now, Junkanoo was actually a general, an Ahanta general from southwest Gold Coast, which is today Ghana. The Ahanta people are one of the many groups that belong to the wider Akan ethnicity, and they reside in southwest Ghana. And these people, for lack of a use of a better term, you could consider them almost like the Spartans of Gold Coast, definitive warrior culture. And this warrior culture was one that was exuded to and used to fight against the transatlantic slave trade, used to fight against European presence in Africa. And me personally, I always knew that this story about him being a slave or the British allowing us to do it on Christmas Day was not true. And so Junkanoo, his real name was Jan Kwaw, and he was from a village known as Princess Town in southwest Ghana, smack in the heart of the Ahanta region. And he had troops of well over 20,000 people, a diverse group of warriors, Ashantis, Fantes, Wassas, and Zimmers, and all of these different groups, right? And he fought against the British and the Dutch, specifically transatlantic slave trade, for about 2 decades, and specifically for an 8-year period from 1717 until 1725. He held out at Fort Fredericksburg, which is in present-day Princess Town today, and this was where he fought against the transatlantic slave trade, right? He was a man that unequivocally was against European control and European aggression in Africa. He beheaded Dutch governors, he put their heads on spikes. So he's not really one that's even palatable, to the typical historical narrative. This guy was not playing around when it came to protecting his people, when it came to maintaining African autonomy. Now, how did this come to the Bahamas? Of course, he became a very well-known and famous warrior who was never a slave. And there was a slave ship called the Bahama Galley that was owned by Governor Fenny, who was a man that's often portrayed in a positive light. And he was the owner of this slave ship, the Bahama Galley, that brought upwards somewhere around 250 of these warriors who were fighting and serving directly for Nana Safahini Jan Kwaw I, also known as Junkanoo. And that ship of warriors came directly to the Bahamas in July of 1721. And this is the first evidence that we have. And mind you, 1721 was his prime. He was there from 1717 to 1725. And so it can be unequivocally proven that the man that we know as Junkanoo throughout the Caribbean, John Cooners in the Carolinas and in Virginia. All of this is in commemoration to this great Ahanta general known as Nana Safahini Jan Kwaw I.
last 2 weeks in December is the most intense time for Junkanooers, right? We're working on the finishing touches for Boxing Day, and with Junkanoos, we always see something that's missing, and you want to constantly try to fix what it is that needs to be done on that costume.
Junkanoo's roots are understood to lie in African heritage. Unlike festivals in the region, the Bahamian slaves never grew dependent on their masters for financing their festivals. Which is why some believe Junkanoo's name derives from taking junk and making it anew.
Wait, ooh, shit. You may hit the ceiling.
Yeah, that one can't come on the side. But what I think we need to do, no. Once we put, okay, we'll hold this, put in the stand, and then put this back on top of the stand inside there, and this should be all right. Okay. Yeah. Passing the space, so you start to from there, and then we gotta leave it. So once you hold this and you lift that.
Don't worry, let it fall down. What to do? Name this African
So Emerald, one of the magnificent body paint artists here in the Bahamas, she does my face for Junkanoo every year. I try to be extra every year, and she rises to the occasion every year, right? What she's doing today is I'm going to be a mermaid on Bay Street. One of the things that I like people to be aware of is how many different steps we go through to get to Bay Street. This is one of the final steps in getting to Bay Street and getting your makeup done so that it gets you completely ready, so that you're fully costumed from head to toe, literally, for the parade. So this is just one aspect. So many layers. It's literally like peeling an onion, the number of layers it takes into getting to Bay Street. People don't tend to see the amount of time that goes into Bay Street, so they'll just see me on Bay Street now. The parade starts at 6 o'clock, and I needed to be here for 2:30 so that she could complete my face to get me ready, so that I'm not late when I assemble with my team. So it's additional hours outside of the pasting and the costuming that go into getting to Bay Street. You know, it's a lot of man hours that goes into it. Something that people don't tend to see. They just see the end result of the entire production process.
Right.
For work. You ready for me to carry you in the cab?
Oh, sure, yeah, let's go.
So, from a sterile chiropractic office and wellness center, our shack is hidden away from the eyes of everybody. Our shack is called the Cave. So you see all the spectacular Junkanoo costumes at the end.
Right.
From head to toe. So we have 4 costumes that are coming out here that are representing Junkanoo based on Genesis theme. So these are the 4 right here. And then Billy, what your costume is? I just know snow, ice.
Jack Frost.
Jack Frost, all right. So that's Billy. He's one of the big dancers. I'm in the group. Another spectacular costume. And this the frame for my costume here. You would see something goes on each one of these rods. A different piece of the costume goes on to each one of these. So this gives you an idea of the kind of construction that goes into preparing the frame before the actual costume itself is done. So you see pieces, all the costumes can't get put together in the shop because of the size of the costumes. You know, we just do the base work inside here. Like we have the frames to put the stands to hold the costumes on so we can work. As we go.
It's a mindset. Because when you come today and we got one more beat on you and one more this, they lick you. And it's not a time to lick you. That's what the fellas thinking now. They ain't understanding that. Hopefully we do it right in the next 2 300 years, it'll still be around.
What we doing now, especially Angel number I'm tracing the roots.
Anthology. Yes.
Now you're finding the why. Right?
Why?
The why where the red came from and why they did it.
Right.
Because once you figure out why they're doing it, now you do it in a different fashion.
Right.
You know,
it was spoken to, you know.
Right.
And there was a rite of passage where you could not have been a part of it to partake. You had to been by blood, by culture, you know. It's passed in the lineage. Funny thing as an artist, right? People wonder how, why, whatever. We actually just look at it somewhat spiritual.
It is, very.
So when people just come to, what y'all ain't doing? No, spiritual is like emotional. You spend the majority of the weekend day thinking about how this is going to get done, how this is going to look. And you actually see it on the parade. Yeah. Before it even completed. That's the strange part about it. Like somebody will come in the shop, what you doing? If I explain it to you, your brain might blow up. just wait. Just wait and watch about this, you know. Come down.
Bay Street on Junkanoo, you could hear the heartbeat. The heartbeat of a nation. The heartbeat of the people. You could hear the symbols of children calling out their mother, a place coined Africa by them, and the motherland by us. Where we from is a part of our identities, no matter the nation or the neighborhood. Junkanoo in the Bahamas is centuries old and is parallel to the development of Black Bahamians' own consciousness. It is a symbol of struggle of the Black Bahamians against oppression, where Black people brought the spirit of the ancestors over an ocean to group of islands and beyond.
And this guy, Junkanoo, he is this almost mythical figure who's not mythical anymore because he was a real man. But he's almost this mythical figure who, for all Africans, so even as other Africans came in, of course, we are all now into this mode of colonization, enslavement. Hey, what is this festival? Who is this guy, Junkanoo? What are you celebrating? Hey, Junkanoo is this guy that did this and that. The problem was, though, over time, the story got appropriated. So in Jamaica, you see Cuckoo the actor boy and Junkanoo came like this guy, a black guy wearing stockings and a powder wig, and you know, black people dressed up in the fine regalia of Europeans and all of that. But this was how it actually evolved, because it did not take long, I would say probably a generation or two, for the identity of Junkanoo to be lost. And of course, you cannot be in that colonial space, in that space of the antebellum American South, talking about, oh, well, I'm doing this to celebrate an African general that defeated your armies and cut off the heads of your governors, right? Right. So you can't really say that. All people of African descent, the African diaspora, we all share the same destiny. And it's impossible to fulfill that destiny in a positive way if we are disjointed and misunified. So these ties have to be resevered, you know, and rebuild that foundation, because that is what it is.
Persons often see us on Bay Street and they have no idea of the amount of hours that's invested in the production of those costumes. Even if through their eyes it appears to be a simple costume, it takes hours and hours and hours. And be mindful that after our regular 9-to-5 work day, when we may be exhausted, we find the energy and we find the time to go to the Junkanoo shack to work on our costume. Even if it's 2 or 3 hours a day, we have to keep at it and constantly go at it in order for it to get done. And we want to put our best foot forward when we go on Bay Street, you know, but you hear the jeers, but.
So back to like you prepping for Junkanoo, if during the in between Boxing Day and New Year's, once you leave here, what is it that you have to do to start prepping for New Year's?
When I leave work today,
Yeah.
I gotta go pace. My costume is not done. And we hear people saying, oh, y'all had 2 years to prepare. No, we did not, because we were locked down just like everyone else. So we didn't have, this has been such a different Junkanoo season for me. Because it seems like everything happens so quickly, like it like suddenly, it's Junkanoo tonight, you know. So the preparation time what we usually have, we didn't have the luxury of having that. So we had to press gas to get our costumes to where they need to be. And people often saying to us, oh, y'all could do this and y'all could do that. Trust me, nobody cares more about their Junkanoo costume and the way they look more than a Junkanoo, right? And the guys were saying the other day that I like pictures, remember? And it's like, that's the one thing we have as Junkanoos to look forward to, because we can't ever see ourselves in our costumes, except if we go through a side street and we see a camera and it's like, a mirror is like, ooh, look at me, you know, like in your full costume. So we look forward to those pictures, and we look forward to the rebroadcast of the parade. Like, let me see if I see me. My mask from Ghana, eh?
Oh, yeah.
And these are different caricatures from different artists. The research that Christopher Davis would have done showed that the first 3 slave ships that came to the Bahamas came from the Ahanta region of Western Ghana. And it is believed that the captured Africans, quite a number of them were soldiers or warriors of Jan Kwaw. So when you hear that reenactment of wartime, these are talks from the warriors. So even though we become more familiar with the history and the reason of why we practice, we will still have wartime. So we will still go against each other, because that too is a part of the tradition. But for us to be more aware, because we did not know, we were taught or told that he was an African slave. He became enslaved, or he was a slave trader. Now, all of my life, that never sat well with me.
Now in the Ahanta region, this is where we saw they hold the cowbell like us, ring it like us. And not just in their Ancoast rush out, which is the one where, similar to the fancy dress in Winterberg, Ancoast is much, much older. Ancoast is actually like the grandfather of what we see these fancy dress festivals are. This is the one where you could be like, oh yeah, you could see it. You know, the color patterns, the way they do the costumes, it's definitely similar. But what you don't see in other places is that cowbell that you see in the Bahamas. And even in Jamaica, you know, the cowbell is not as prominent as it is in the Ahanta. So even though we in the Bahamas, in our more commercialized version of Junkanoo celebrations, we've lost the proverbial General Safahini with the whip, you know, pitchy patchy with the whip, the guy leading it, the general leading his troops. Though we've lost that, we have retained the cowbell. Now, the cowbell is used to summon the right energy, summon the right spirits in any ceremony, not even just in their Ancoast parade. And when we showed them the way that we ring our cowbells, the family of Baidu Bonsu II, the great whale, told us that, well, you were ringing those cowbells so violently because you were trying to get your ancestors to come and rescue you from enslavement and colonization, maybe even the spirit of Junkanoo himself. We have the tum-tum, you know, which is actually a very popular term throughout West Africa, even though it's more so centered around the Wolof, the Temne people, the Sera people of Senegal, right? And the tum-tum drum simply refers to the talking drum. And when you hear the drum line, that's the quicker one. So I think that is the part that refers to the tum-tum, right? And then you have the gombe drum. Gombe in itself was actually a genre of music in the Bahamas that is almost dead, to be honest, right? It's a form of drumming that was done. It's like pretty much a drum-based thing. that's very much connected to Africa. But Gombe actually comes from the Mende people. So we talking Mali, Senegal, Gambia, straight down to Guinea. You know, that's one of the broadest groups. The Mandingo people, several other groups fall under that. But the Gombe drum comes from the djembe drum, which is the goat skin drum. It usually is tapered in the middle, but sometimes it isn't. Depending on the group that you're dealing with, there are several variations of this goat skin djembe drum, right? But the one that we are more so familiar with is the Bambara one, I believe. The one that comes from a little further inland that does not have the taper in the middle, right? The djembe drum. Junkanoo is something that is about freedom. It is something that, though is centered around the Bahamas, around the Gullah Geechee, around Jamaica, through this music, through this vibe, you know, it's not something where, and this is the mistake people often make, you know, because you would hear people say things like, well, why you don't have the kids listening to Junkanoo when they're riding around in their cars and all this stuff? Like, Junkanoo is literally almost like a ritual.
Well, I believe more and more Junkanooers are seeking knowledge and, you know, going back to our roots, you know, where does Junkanoo stem from? And the more that we find, you know, Angelique and even Doc, they always do their research. And the more that we find, I believe most Junkanooers would want to stay true to that culture, to our roots. And you know, we see exactly where it came from, and we just try to develop it, but still keep it authentic.
Just cloth.
So you could give me that little
I could work that. Wherever I could work it. I could not. I gotta still buy that. We gotta try it.
Do this for me. So you're talking to a Saints fan, but you need to describe to them what Junkanoo is, knowing that we got Mardi Gras, knowing we got Mardi Gras in. Explain Junkanoo.
Okay.
You ain't gotta go big, you can go small, but just see if you can explain it.
A good manner. As Junkanoo? Huh?
No, however you want, just be real. Like, what you think it is? You think my Mardi Gras might be able to mess with y'all, Junkanoo?
Oh yeah, I mean Junkanoo is a human thing. It's life. So carnival, I'm not really feeling carnival, you know. Junkanoo is our culture, and we wanted to stay that way, you know, because Junkanoo is a feeling. Junkanoo is a spirit, you know. You just can't say you want to do Junkanoo. Junkanoo sometimes got to really be in you. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So on the terms of that, I feel like, do I really feel like I feel all the Junkanoos need to get paid some more money? That's what I'm feeling. So on that, I feel like the Junkanoos is not getting the satisfaction they supposed to get. You know, the culture, they got to keep the culture alive. Oh man, the feeling of Junkanoo is, I told you have to be in it to understand it. I do this every day. By me, even me, I'm a pacer. I'm a spray team. I spray sealants. I'm a painter. I spray sealants, and still the same thing. I pace every day, spray sealants. So Junkanoo is like a year-round thing for me. There's no time for myself, even when Junkanoo is off. Even when Junkanoo is not around, it's still Junkanoo. So Junkanoo is all year round. We never stop doing Junkanoo.
Bring in home New Year's.
Who that?
One family. All the way.
All right, Pop. Go ahead and tell me a little bit about Boxing Day. How was the experience?
As to the Boxing Day parade?
Yeah.
Or Junkanoo on the whole?
No, the Boxing Day. Talk to me about Boxing Day.
Well, to me, it was a good parade. We had a little wet showers, but it didn't hinder the parade. per se. I figured it was a good rush. We just didn't come out victorious like we wanted to. So we are preparing now to go back to battle. Yeah, so as far as how I felt about it, we all have our, disgruntled about certain things, but at the end of the day, we can't blame no one but ourselves for our loss. Because we had it to win, and we just dropped the baton. Now, so what we did is we took the framing, and we made adjustable stuff. Like how we slot certain things off, and we can have them taken off, because the other one had other stuff come on that, so now we took them off, and we made these, so these can be adjustable, and we can replace them on these costumes. So now instead of going through the whole idea of rebuilding a whole frame just to obtain the same looks, we have incorporated a certain technique so we can just change, don't worry about that, so we can just change them. And this year, for the New Year parade, we only carrying 3 big bellas, and we have the rest step down, because those 3 are going to be right in the front to line up the front, and then everything else come down. Because we'd be actually going to try to take back our music. Yeah, so you got to cut down the musician size and make them applicable for the occasion.
One of the things that we're realizing is that we took it for granted that we're conditioned throughout the year for Bay Street and for our performances at Unboxing Day. Because having had 2 years off for COVID-19, we were basically locked in the houses. We weren't able to go to any Junkanoo practices or anything like that, or any Junkanoo events where we got to perform or anything. So we just assumed that, okay, this is something that we always do, so our bodies are going to be ready. But now we're feeling it. Because we haven't been conditioned for the past 2 years, we haven't been doing what we normally do. And we literally took it for granted that we would be ready. So we're feeling that fatigue at a different level. Like the last week in December is always a week where we have to just push ourselves extra hard to go that last mile in between the 2 parades to get ready for the second parade. And every Junkanoo that I've spoken to is feeling it. We're moving slower. You know, when you're tired, you're exhausted. Something that would take you an hour is now taking you 2 hours to complete. And you find yourself just looking at your costume like, oh my God, I still have work to do. Like right now, I'm getting my face done, but I still have I have a few things that need to be done to my costume. Like my skirt needs to be assembled because of the design. My feathers need to go on my backdrop. And another cardboard piece onto the top. So it's not a lot of work, but it is some work. But I would come and I would get my face done before I go to the shop, because once you get in that shop, it is very difficult to leave. So if I was to go there to do the finishing touches on the costume, I would be late getting to her, so I would probably not even be able to get done. So you have to know what you need to do first, second, and third in order to get there. And I'm exhausted. And the spirit of Junkanoo that I know will greet me the closer I get to Bay Street is what will drive me down the parade to be able to perform, because I'm tired.
Safety first.
spite of the condition known as slavery, despite all the negative experiences, the spirit and the dignity is intact, and there's no sign that the spirit was ever broken or will ever be broken. At a time when black people of different nations were not afforded the ability to be represented or vote, the descendants of Africa found ways to be political, to take to the streets. Junkanoo was a response to the dehumanization of bondage, a way to let the colonizers know that we are part of the human family, a way to let the ancestors know we still here and we remember. Now, after knowing what Junkanoo is and where it come from, does it look and sound different to you?
Inspiration, this week waking up. People want to see.
(422-4796) standard text rate supply. Once again, I am Dwight Strawn. Happy New Year, everybody. It's the first show for the new year. Welcome back to everybody who was off during the holidays. And I have a special guest co-host today. Guest co-host and expert. She's going to be doing multiple things with us this morning, wearing multiple hats. But Angelique McKay, good morning. Great to have you with us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be here.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, and to the listeners.
You've recovered since yesterday?
No, I have not.
You didn't get enough rest?
No.
All right. Let's read some of your text messages. We'll get back to the calls in a bit. Okay, so this is a long one here. I'm tired of talking about Junkanoo, not Junkanoo itself. I'm tired of hearing this is how it is now. It is not the greatest show on earth. It's glimpses of the greatest show on earth. Well, if it's impossible for 6 groups to bring quality, we'll stop funding the 6 groups. We know there's a year to prepare. How many costumes can we complete by type with quality in a year? That's our cutoff, as opposed to everybody get a half piece of costume. Put a cap on the number of people in the group. You solicit your funding first, then you come for the government for subsidies. Based on the total funding you have, there's a cap on your numbers. If you don't have the funding to support 500 people, you shouldn't have 500 people. It's inexcusable for an A group to bring low quality year after year and still get funding. Spectators would be satisfied to see 2 really good groups as opposed to a long, drawn-out parade. And they go on. Junkanoo participants always say, this is our parade, we do it for the love, and you all don't know what it takes. But when you suggest moving the low-quality elements to the start of the parade, they say no one's going to show up. So which is it? Is it your parade and you doing it for you, or do you want paid spectators? Because paid spectators want quality presentation and performance. They're not interested in seeing for the love of it. Sounds like we need to scrap the costume parade. It's impossible to bring quality because of jobs and family. Responding to you, then let's not do it. $70 is a lot to pay for a ticket to see a group of people who simply don't have time. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah. I want you to respond to that.
I need to read it because that person obviously does not get the same thing out of Junkanoo what many of the spectators that sit in those bleachers get out of Junkanoo. I would have spoken to someone over the weekend who they just don't like Junkanoo because they always find some fault. So I'm like, step away from Junkanoo if Junkanoo is not giving you what you need from Junkanoo, you know? And we do it for the love of Junkanoo. We definitely do it for the love of Junkanoo. And we seek sponsorship. And we don't always get. Like, I'm a member of Genesis, the Warhawks. We went to Bay Street without a sponsor because of our love for Junkanoo. So there was a lot of personal investments made by the members of that organization to get to Bay Street, to do what it is that we love to do and go on Bay Street and parade and prepare our costumes. And we do make the personal sacrifices that we need to do. But my thing is, many persons got a sense of euphoria from watching those parades. And I'm
Especially
saying
after 2 years of
everything
nothing.
is not, and then we did not have a year to plan and prepare. And we need to factor in that we just came out of a pandemic. Sponsorship was down across the board. Like I said, Genesis had no sponsor, right? And then in addition to that, the subsidies from the government came well after the summer, into the fall. So there are a number of things that we have to factor in. And $70 is a drop in the bucket to pay to watch Junkanoo.
All right, we're going to pick this up after the news. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio.
Christopher was coronated as Jan Kwaw II, and from all those years ago to now, nobody's ever held that stool in Ahanta, and it's been awarded to Christopher. And in March, he got that, and his coronation was in June. And I got the title of Queen Mother Asafachuriba of Pawkasu and the Ahanta people of Western Ghana during the same time that Christopher got that. And that title means Queen of the Warriors. And Christopher is Nana Safahini, Jan Kwaw II, which is the King of the Warriors. You know, so it means so much. Like, I have invested so many years of my life into Junkanoo and showing the world that Junkanoo is the greatest show on earth. And to have been awarded the pinnacle of what I could get for the work that I've been doing in Junkanoo, another emotional experience, eh? They try to turn me into a crybaby, but it's not gonna happen. And to know that the organization that I formed is called Junkanoo Commandos, and that he was a great Ahanta warrior. And we did not know that at the time. And I can't even say how the name came to me. It just came as like, okay, we're gonna be Junkanoo Commandos. You know, we're gonna show the world that Junkanoo is the greatest show on earth. And we've been doing it, you know. And it's just that our narrative changes now because we get to expand and we get to speak about the man himself. We get to speak about Jan Kwaw. We get to speak about the Ahanta people of Western Ghana. Stories were told around the campfire in Ahanta about the stolen children, and that one day their children's children will return. And we were the return of those stolen children of the children. There are people that look like my granduncles, grandaunts, neighbors. It's just so much familiarity. The food, you know, just everything. You know, it shows that our ancestors would have brought everything back over here along with them. They would have brought everything. And you would hear, people would have said that You know, they didn't bring anything. We're grasping onto some of the traditions, but having been there and been fully submerged into the daily lives, we brought everything. We brought everything with us.
We are always seeking connection. Celebration within the Black community is a way of connecting to our past, a way of connecting to our ancestors, no matter who we is or where we landed. We pass our rhythms through drums and horns, whistles, cowbells, conch shells. Our style of dress is an expression of who we is in the present moment, but even that is traced back to our past. And now that we know who Jan Kwaw was, we can start to connect the dots on how his influence not only influenced what you see, but what you know about our celebrations and where they come from. So it's important for us to realize what we're doing in the present so we can realize our connection to the past and can ensure that we are constructing everything needed for the future. We all know the bad times always around the corner, but so are the good times. We've all grown up in these celebrations that connect us all to one another. But are we really paying attention? These are celebrations of rebellion, celebrations of connection, our celebrations of self-identification. Who in the morning?